In the land where luxury meets legacy, behind iron gates and marble floors, some stories are whispered, not shouted. This is not just about wealth or status, but about faith, loyalty, and the quiet strength of those we often overlook. Tonight, I bring you a story that lives behind closed doors, where love, betrayal, and redemption dance in silence. This is the story of Grace at the Gate. In the heart of Abuja, where mansions rise like monuments and wealth flows like water, one man's home stood still in time. A man admired, a man respected, a man broken. That man was Mr. Isaac Williams, a name known in business circles, a man once full of laughter, now wrapped in silence. Years ago, death stole his wife, the light of his youth and mother of his children. Her passing left a hole in his heart that no business deal or fortune could ever fill. Since then, he became both father and mother to his twin children, Travis and Tracy, bright-eyed, full of questions, and always asking why mommy never came back. Isaac tried to smile for them, but fate, cruel and silent, had one more blow to deliver. Cancer, a terminal disease. Doctors spoke in hushed tones. Months, not years, they said. And as Mr. Isaac stared at the clock ticking down his final days, he saw more than his own end approaching. He saw vultures, his own family, circling, hungry not for grief but for gain, greedy uncles, estranged cousins, and boardroom enemies waiting to split the spoils. What would happen to his children? To their inheritance? To their hearts? He needed a plan, a protector, a presence who would love and raise his children with grace. Who will care for my children when I'm gone? He asked himself. He turned to the only man he trusted, Frederick Alex, his childhood friend, a quiet man of honor who had stood with Isaac since the days of bare feet and borrowed dreams. Together they crafted a plan, one no one would see coming. There were two women in Isaac's house, invisible in wealth yet ever present. They sat outside one evening, speaking in hushed tones. "I don't have time, Alex. My family. They'll devour my wealth like hyenas. The kids need someone who'll love them, not just their inheritance," Isaac said, voice hollow. Behind the gate, someone listened. Kazim, the gateman. Loyal, but human. And when he heard Isaac's secret, it broke something inside him. Later that night, Kazim did by and ponder on what he heard about his boss earlier that day. This man they die. Who go take care of these pickin' now? All this money, nothing day this life. The next day, he decided to relate the situations to his colleagues in the house. Grace, the cook, humble, quiet, always singing hymns under her breath as she stirred pots of egusi and jollof. Anita, the cleaner, efficient, reserved, focused. She polished glass like she was wiping away her past. Neither of them knew they were being watched, tested, chosen. That night changed everything. For the first time, the truth was out. Anita went silent. Then her eyes shifted. That same night, she brought out lipstick, put on tighter clothes, changed her walk, changed her smile. Not because she cared, but because she saw an opportunity. The next morning, she knocked gently on Mr. Williams's door. He was seated, frail, flipping through photos of his twins. "Sir," Anita said sweetly, "you haven't had breakfast? Maybe I could bring it up personally today if you don't mind, or keep you company. You look lonely." She leaned closer than necessary, her blouse unbuttoned lower than usual. But Mr. Williams, though weak, saw everything. He stared at her for a long, uncomfortable moment, then gently spoke. "Anita, do you think I don't see you?" Silence. "I may be dying, but I'm not blind. Go back to your work." She flushed with shame and stormed out, but her heart didn't change. She just became more calculated. But Grace was different. She didn't speak more. She fell to her knees, not out of fear for her job, but from the weight of love and loyalty. She wasn't just trying to keep her position. She was fighting, with tears and prayer, for the life of a man she respected, and the future of two innocent children she had quietly grown to love. She didn't try to get noticed. Back home, she had a daughter, Treasure, 4 years old, soft-spoken, innocent, left in the care of an auntie who resented her, hit her, yelled at her, abused her for being a burden. Grace carried that pain every day behind her quiet smile. Regardless of her pain each day, Grace lifted her voice in prayer. Not for fortune, not for favor, but for healing, for restoration, for a miracle to touch the man whose life was slipping away. Her whispers to heaven were never about wealth. They were a cry for mercy, for the father of 2 children who didn't deserve another goodbye. She knelt on her small mattress that night and prayed for his boss healing, for his children. Days passed. Grace began fasting, secretly, drinking only water, whispering prayers under her breath. She would gently take Travis and Tracy aside and say,
"Let's pray for Daddy today."
They knelt together, a sick man's children and a humble cook who loved them like her own. Meanwhile, Anita had shifted, not in silence, but in strategy. She started dressing like the future madam of the house. Bold lipstick, high heels clicking across marble floors, perfume heavy in the air. She lingered near the study, eavesdropping on phone calls, casually brushing past the children with fake warmth, standing just close enough to be noticed. And yet, she never was. She tried to smile more, laugh louder, cook once in a while, even meals she never used to touch. All of it, a performance. But Mr. Williams, he saw through it. He never called her in again, not once. And just when it seemed her plans were growing bolder, something happened. Mr. Williams, who had barely touched food in weeks, asked for Grace's porridge. She brought it up. He ate, slowly. Then he looked at her and asked, "Why do you care so much, Grace?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she replied, "Sir,
No one prays for the dead, and you're not gone yet. And as long as you're breathing, I believe God still has the final say."
That night, Mr. Isaac slept better than he had in months. In the background, Kazim watched everything unfold. The man who once spilled the truth now saw something greater, a divine plan unfolding before his eyes. Weeks passed. Grace never stopped praying for his boss. Isaac's health started improving. Doctors were puzzled. What they expected to fade was beginning to rise. His strength returned slowly. His eyes brightened. His laughter returned, not because of medicine, but because of hope. One Saturday morning, the twins were playing outside. Grace sat nearby, singing an old hymn as she folded laundry. Mr. Williams walked to the balcony, unaided, for the first time in months. In that quiet moment, watching the scene unfold like a divine painting, something stirred deeply in his heart. A knowing, a peace, a whisper in his spirit. This is her, he thought. This is the woman God chose. Not for my wealth, not for status, but for my soul, for my children, for this home. He gripped the balcony railing, emotion rising in his chest, and softly, through a voice cracked by gratitude, he whispered, "Thank you, God, for this second chance, and for sending her when I was too blind to ask." Days turned into weeks. Healing had settled in the home like gentle rain. The children laughed louder, the staff smiled more, and Mr. Isaac, he felt alive again. Then one morning, something unusual happened. The entire house was up before dawn. Decorations, caterers, soft music playing through the hallways. The scent of jollof rice and grilled chicken danced through the air. A party was being prepared, but no one knew why. The neighbors peeked over their fences. The staff whispered among themselves. Even Grace looked puzzled, yet continued working, quietly helping wherever she could. And Anita? Anita was glowing. She floated through the halls in her finest gown, makeup flawless, heels sharp. She whispered to one guest after another, "I think he's proposing today." She laughed with a confidence born from assumption. Why else throw a party out of nowhere? I mean, look at me. She paraded past the mirrors, striking poses as if the day already belonged to her. Whispers among themselves. Isaac is rearranging things. Might be writing a will. And so they were calculating. Then the music changed. The chatter faded. Mr. Isaac stood up. He was dressed in a crisp white suit, looking stronger than ever, not just in body, but in spirit. The guests gathered, the air thick with anticipation. Anita stepped forward slightly, smiling wide. But Isaac's eyes didn't go to her. They searched the crowd and found Grace, standing near the twins in a simple dress, holding Treasure's little hand. He smiled, and then, with steady steps, he walked past Anita and straight to her. Gasps, whispers. Anita froze mid-smile, heart crashing into her heels. Isaac knelt, not in weakness, but in purpose. He took Grace's hand gently, looked into her eyes and said, "You prayed me back to life. You loved my children when they were strangers. You reminded me that God still hears us. And today, I want to build the rest of my life with you. Grace, will you marry me?" Tears from Grace, from Tracy and Travis, even some staff members, even from Treasure, who didn't quite understand, but clung tightly to her mother. The entire room stood in stunned silence, and Anita, she turned slowly, slipped away through the back, her dreams unraveling behind her like the trail of her torn gown. Grace nodded, unable to speak. Isaac rose, embraced her, and the room erupted, not just in applause, but in awe. Because that day, love wasn't loud, it wasn't dressed in gold, it was humble, faithful, and finally seen. That was the day Mr. Isaac chose not just a wife, but a woman who had already chosen him long before the world was watching. And that day, Grace, the girl who knelt in secret to pray, rose in public to become a wife, a mother, and the woman of the house. Isaac looked up and continued, "I see through every one of you, and today, I'm taking back my story." He turned to Grace, took her hand, and said, "This woman, this servant of mine, has become the angel at my gate." Gasps, protests, rage, but Isaac raised his voice. "You all expected a will. I'm giving you a warning. My children already have a mother, and her name is Grace." Tears flowed. Grace wept. Anita fled the room. The children? They held Grace tightly. "Mommy Grace," Tracy shouted. It was the beginning of something new. Grace didn't marry for wealth. She didn't plan it. She didn't pray for a husband. She only prayed for her boss healing. And in return, God gave her more than she has ever imagined. A family, freedom, and a voice in a house that once ignored her. 1 year later, a family photo hangs in the hallway. Mr. Williams, healthier than ever, stands with his twins and Grace holding Treasure. They're smiling. Not because life is perfect, but because faith stood at the gate and won. This is the story of Grace at the gate. Sometimes, all it takes to change a man's fate is a woman who knows how to pray. Often, it is in praying for others that our own prayers are hastened, even those we never uttered or dared to imagine. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss our next inspiring episodes. Go ahead and like the video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and tell us how you feel about the story and the characters in the comments section below.